There are many ways you could solve problems in Genshin Impact, and Klee chooses to bomb them away. Her deceiving looks only lead to chaotic destruction, so the question you should be asking yourself, how can you make her explosions cause more damage? There's a couple of things that make Klee a very interesting character to play with. The most important thing you need to understand about her is the Pounding Surprise talent, which has a 50% chance to make your next charge attack cost no stamina to use. And this can be triggered by either using normal attacks or the elemental skill, but the bottom line is, it will happen very often and you will need to keep an eye on this bright yellow flower that will show up floating around her. And to make things even better, her second passive talent will give out energy to your team if you manage to score a critical hit with your charged attack. This means if you want to fully maximize her damage and benefits for the team, you will need to use her charged attack as your main strategy. One more thing you need to keep in mind is her elemental skill. You will notice she gets 2 charges, which means you can drop both bombs immediately before they explode into smaller mines. However, one thing the skill fails to mention is that you can only have 8 mines at maximum, so if you see that your enemies are not stepping onto the mines, you might want to consider not dropping the second bomb at least until few of them go off. And there's one cool trick you can do with the mines, and that's by using Jean or the Traveler, who can gather those mines and use them to your advantage. Finally, because of how Klee's sparks and splashes work, if you do decide to switch her out, you will lose the burst, so you need to make sure you're ready to stay with her for the full duration during the burst. Also, it's important to note that this burst works better on single targets, since those laser beams can only target few enemies at a time. Overall, you will naturally become better at triggering her charged attacks, and when it comes to managing her mines and burst ability, there's going to be a lot of room left for improvement. When it comes to weapons, there are a few options to consider. If you're on a very tight budget or someone who is free to play, then going for Twin Nephrite as your early game 3-star weapon could be a good choice, since Klee is all about the quantity of attacks, not quality. But for your next upgrade, that would be the Mapamir from the Blacksmith, which will give her not only a decent increase into elemental reaction damage, but also provide a nice elemental damage bonus from the passive skill. And for the more pay-to-win options, probably the best purchase you could make on a budget would be the Solar Pearl from the Battle Pass. Not only does it provide a very good passive skill, but also gives critical rating as a substat. And the next few options come from the Gacha: Favodius Codex for activating your bursts more often, and the Wit Sith for mainly just to increase your crit damage with the passive skill as more of a nice side bonus. And obviously, the current 5-star catalysts are also going to be awesome upgrades. Moving over to artifacts, there's a lot of interesting combinations to go for. Currently, there are 2 pyro sets, each with their own pros and cons. For example, the Crimson Witch set gives excellent 2-set bonus, but requires some setup from her 4-set bonus in order to pay off. On the other hand, the Lava Walker gives a somewhat irrelevant 2-set bonus, but the 4-set bonus gives a sizable increase to your pyro damage without any setup required. Then there's the Gambler set that can make your elemental skill even more powerful, or if you choose the other way around, then you could go for the Noblesse Oblige set, which will improve your burst instead. Finally, you could also try to fully maximize your charged attacks and go for the Wanderer's Troop set. But the most important thing you need to understand about the sets is that you really should be aiming for better stats, because the most realistic situation will be finding good artifacts and then using double 2-set bonus instead. One good rule of thumb to keep in mind, especially with characters like Klee, is to optimize your critical rating and damage. You should aim for a 2-to-1 ratio where critical damage is double the amount of critical rating, while also not forgetting that you need to keep increasing your attack or pyro damage too. All in all, this is not going to be an overnight process, and finding even decent artifacts will take some time, but each new upgrade will make Klee stronger than before. When exploring the world, Klee is going to be an invaluable addition to your team. Her talent allows you to show you all the local Mondstadt specialties on the map, which makes the daily routine of collecting these ascension materials much easier. And when you're building a team, she can pretty much work with anyone as long as you keep in mind that Klee will most likely be your main damage dealer, so she will need a lot of support to make her truly shine. For example, you can get an easy 20% increased attack by using someone like Xiangling to activate the Pyro Resonance, and someone like Fischl or Lisa can provide a lot of overload reactions. Just remember that Vaporize and Melt are going to be a little tricky to fully utilize, since enemies can accidentally bump into one of your mines or get hit by one of your basic attacks. Even if Klee seeks a lot of attention, she's still an excellent teammate because of the talent to generate more energy from her charged attacks. And worst case scenario, if you switch her out, there will probably be some mines laying around for more elemental reactions to trigger. Klee is definitely one of the most charming characters in the game. She seems to be especially good with large groups of enemies or someone who's big enough to soak up all the mines, and it's undeniable she has a lot of potential when it comes to ridiculous amount of damage, but at the same time, she's also great at just exploring the world, especially when you're in Mondstadt or farming those annoying electro crystal deposits. Her few drawbacks include the fact you will need to build a team around her if you want to truly maximize her potential, and if you're fighting smaller enemies, they will most likely avoid getting hit by the mines left from the elemental skill. But most importantly, because of her pyro element, she's going to be exceptionally useful at the spiral abyss floors where pyro damage gets boosted. All in all, Klee is an excellent character for exploring the world and conquering the spiral abyss, and will surely become a fan favorite of many players. Except for the fishes, they're definitely not the biggest fans of her. Enjoyed the video? Make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, and gently press the like button. Don't forget to check out our other Genshin Impact guides, which also includes a tier list that you can also visit on our website gachagamer.com. Thank you for watching us.